I've been in Austin. I was born and raised here. I'm a successful entrepreneur. I have one child, and I have not seen him but 48 hours, less than 48 hours in a year. I was actually attending my PhD program. I've been also admitted to medical school, and when I was attending my PhD program, I got pregnant and decided that being a mom and working with people one-on-one in the nutrition field was more my calling. In my case, I just want to respond to a few things. I wrote some problems and solutions like you suggested. In my case, problematic behavior was not the basis for a forensic psychological evaluation. There was no issue. The judge actually had testimony from the psychologist and the guardian ad litem and the therapist that there were no issues really at stake, like that they thought it was totally fine, that there was nothing going on. Yet I was convinced to sign a agreed order by Alissa Sherry for a forensic psychological exam. The father had asked the court repeatedly for a psychological exam, and because I had left medical school with some back injuries and a concussion 15 years ago, the judge just said, okay, we'll do a neuropsych. Yet I was coerced, I would say, into signing this agreed order for a forensic psychological exam. I was told it'd be $5,000. It was over $30,000. This exam basically recommended that I have little to no contact with my nursing baby. I have no criminal record. I don't do drugs. I don't drink alcohol, and I have no past history of mental health problems. And I've been actually very successful here in Austin. I had no idea what I was getting into, but basically this evaluation, which was hundreds of pages and ignored over 10 years of therapy that I had for, mostly that I had been attending for pain management problems from a spine injury a long time ago, and because one of my hobbies is meditation and I'm a yoga practitioner, and I volunteer at my church, so prayer and meditation, spirituality is one of my, and self-improvement is one of my hobbies, along with gardening and cooking for my friends and floral arranging. So pretty dull person. There's not really much you can pick up on me. My idea of good time is going to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's and buying too many flowers. So, but yet I was a stay-at-home mom, and I had a business that supported me financially. I decided to file for child support. 1 month and 4 days later, after this child support order was entered, the father took me to court to pursue custody. And within several months, and along with the help of this exam, that happened. And of course, when you're in this situation, especially as a new nursing single mom, and I also had some history of attending Safe Place and some violence from the father when he had first got served for child support papers. This was all ignored in my forensic psychological exam. It's included, but it's not even addressed or mentioned. The whole report revolves around hearsay and he said, she said, so that's one of the big problems. And I think, when that woman talked about having to change her identity and how that was an issue for her, and she mentioned over and over, stick to the facts. And I thought, stick to the facts, that's good, because yes, there is a place for psychology and there is a place for science. And there are people that have mental health problems, and some people do need protection, but you have to stick to the facts. Evaluating based on non-truths is not the role of forensic psychology. So I'm just going to go through a few of the problems and solutions that I have.
Focus on the solutions, please.
Okay. I can skip ahead. I will say some things like, talking about, like, my baby actually was 18 months old and he failed a drug test that I gave him. I was demonized for this, and he was pretending to smoke pot. He's 18 months old, and I have been placed on supervised visitation with my baby. Not CPS investigated, they dismissed it. There was no proof of any sort of things. Yet, when you get forensic psychologists in the court, and these attorneys, they go in and judges just make decisions based on 5 or 10 minutes of a hearing without really backing things up, but I was demonized for this instead of CPS being called. In a way, forensic psychology is become a pseudoscience. 100 years ago, women could be institutionalized and put in a sane asylum based on the testimony of their husband and a psychologist as well. And now we look at that and think how horrific. But the same thing is now being done to our children. In terms of solutions, psychologists should be forced to evaluate both parties. They should stick to peer-reviewed scientific tests, not statements that can be substantiated or unsubstantiated. Collateral witnesses should be evaluated equally on both sides. The tests that are used by psychologists should not be outdated. There should be a mandatory set tests that are done based on the most recent peer-reviewed literature. There should be a cap on fees. This should not be a money laundering situation. It should not be something where someone's in because of the stress, where they are making lots and lots of money, so they're willing to do it. It should be because their heart is in it, their soul is in it. I went into nutrition because my heart and soul is in it, not because I get paid a lot of money. There are a lot of things that I could do and get paid way more. There should be something like $2,000 as a fee for a 1-hour interview and some Scantron sheets, not $30,000, not $100,000, not $250,000. A set amount of time should be given to both parties where one person is interviewed and another person is interviewed. It should always say, if you're going to talk to so-and-so's mommy, then you talk to so-and-so's mother as well. If you talk to this grandmother, you should talk to this grandmother. In my case, my parents had to call over and over to even get a time to talk to Dr. Sherry. A random drawing, a blind random method should be used for evaluators. They should not be used by court appointments, court relationships, attorneys' relationships with custody evaluators. It should be a blind pot where there's a list and the judge says, we're going to pick number 2. Where's our computer program? We draw it out of a hat. Forensic psychology, this C says, like Sally, seashore.
Can you bring it to a close?
Yes, I will. Thank you for your time. I don't think that these forensic evaluations should occur absent convictions of abuse. Long-term ongoing psychological problems manifest before litigation. Anyone in the context of litigation, you just have your nursing baby taken away. Let me tell you, you're going to start crying in an interview. That does not mean that you are a crazy person if you start crying as a mother who has had 2 months earlier had your nursing infant removed from you. Litigation causes extreme stress and trauma to people, as we've seen. Evaluations should be presented to the court by therapists and even LPCs who have had over a year of weekly visits with people. People cannot determine who someone is, and if you're lying or not lying or seeing long-term behavioral patterns within a 1 hour, even a 3-hour visit. They should look at 10 years of therapy records and to bring those into the context of the court cases. I've been in litigation for 3 years, and there's plenty of time for someone to have a weekly meeting with me and the father and talk about what's going on. Trauma-informed methods.
We need to move on to the next person.
We'll say if a large volume of complaints come in about someone, then you should really listen because it's destroying lives. My son, I haven't seen him, and now his new superpower is, he's told me last week that to make peepees in his bottom disappear. And if that doesn't worry you, I don't understand what's going on here. And I have no idea what's going on because I don't even get to see him because of false work in my case.
Thank you.